Hey there guys, this is Cole. Welcome back to another video game review. I figured, hey, might as well do some more video game reviews because I don't talk about video games enough here on the channel, so why not? And today's video game I'm going to be reviewing is the 2006 PlayStation 3 exclusive game, Resistance: Fall of Man, developed by Insomniac. What is the basic plot to this game? Well, the plot to the game Resistance: Fall of Man is as follows. There is no defense. There is no cure. Each of our casualties just increases their numbers. Russia went dark over a year ago. Europe fell a few weeks later. The Chimera will reach the other continents within days. It is July 11th, 1951. Amidst the ruins of England, U.S., and British forces take a final stand against an alien race. So that's basically the plot synopsis to the to the game, I should say. And this is a game that I first heard about this game in, I would like to say it was December of 2020 when a YouTuber who I like, Zach Pope, he did a video on his favorite video game from every year he's been alive, and when he got to the 2006 section, he mentioned the game Resistance: Fall of Man, and I'm like, what is that? And the premise he described sounded interesting, and I did not start really gaming until 2021 when I bought my first video game system with my own money, which was the PlayStation 4. But then in 2023, I got the PS5, and then last year, I finally got the PS3, and I saw that this was really cheap, so I figured, why not give this game a go? And I gotta say, overall, while this game does have some flaws, I think that this is a pretty good game. And so how was the game received? Well, when Resistance: Fall of Man was released on November 11th of 2006 for the PlayStation 3, the game received positive reviews from critics and audiences, where critics praised the game for its story and its gameplay. And I think that for the most part, there is some dated aspects to it, but I think for the most part, this game does hold up well. And this game was actually developed by Insomniac, the same people who make the Spyro the Dragon games, and who, of course, more recently made the Spider-Man games, the first Marvel Spider-Man from 2018 for the PlayStation 4, which is a great game. And then, of course, they made the second Spider-Man game for PS5, which I rather liked. And Insomniac, of course, they're coming out with the Wolverine game this year, which I'm so excited for. But, yeah. Without further ado, let's get into my review. So, the game starts off where we are basically given the backstory that, that a group of alien species known as the Chimera and the Chimera have taken over the UK. And basically, they're trying to invade planet Earth. And you basically play as a military sergeant by the name of Nathan Hale, who basically, you're a part of the military and you have to shoot these aliens. And what I like about this game is, I do like the design of the aliens in this game, because there's different types of alien designs, like the Chimera, for example, I think are rather cool. Like, for example, if a Chimera infects you, you become infected and fight against the human race. And I think that the design of the Chimera is cool. And again, I think that just the poster to this game alone, I mean, this is a really cool video game cover with an alien skull. I mean, this right here is a cool cover right here. And another thing I do like about the game, again, like I said, I do like the story to this game where you play as a military sergeant, Nathan Hale, and you're a part of the British military force, and you basically have to fight off a bunch of aliens. And I really like the variety of weapons in this game. Like for example, you get a rocket launcher, you get an AK-47, you get grenades. I really like the category of weapons you get to use on your enemies in this game. I think it's really nice. And another thing I will praise about the game, I also like the variety to it, where, there's a variety of different type of enemies, like, for example, of course, there's the Chimera, the main group of aliens, but you also have another group called the Chimera, which I think is really cool. correct me, I can't remember the name of this type, so correct me down below, but there is the type of, alien spiders you have to fight, like the alien spider-like creatures that'll crawl at you. I think that those are rather cool. And I will say, this game does have some good boss fights. Like, for instance, there is a scene later on in the game where there's like this gigantic alien spider that shoots, eggs at you, and then the spiders will hatch, and you gotta shoot those. I think that that's a rather cool boss fight. I like how one of them is kind of like, I like how one of the bosses is kind of like a metal tank, but it walks on 4 legs and shoots a machine gun. I thought that was a rather cool alien boss fight. And I know this cover's super blurry, so it's hard to see, but if you see this thing that my finger's pointing to, again, sorry that this case is blurry, but that's one of the boss fights in the game. And this alien you see right here is the Chimera. Again, I know this is really not the best quality camera-wise, but it is what it is. And here's the weird thing I don't understand. So, like I said, when Resistance Fall of Man came out, because, at the time this game came out, Insomniac, I mean, they were a decently big studio, but, like, they were not really known for making these types of games, because prior to this, they had done the Spyro the Dragon games, but they had also done the Ratchet and Clank games, which I did play some of the first Spyro the Dragon game. I did not beat the game, but I did like it for what it was, and I also did play some of, I almost said Erase Reboot. I did play a little bit of the first Spyro the Dragon game, and it was pretty good. I have not yet actually played any of the Ratchet and Clank games. I've heard really good things about them. I mean, I do own the Ratchet and Clank remake game for the PS4. I have that game, which I've heard good things about. I just haven't gotten around to playing it yet. But, and another thing I will say I do like about the game, one of my favorite parts of the game is where when you're playing as Nathan Hale, you're basically in, like, this underground, kind of like this underground section, I guess you can say, and then you have to fight, like, these really tall aliens with these lengthy arms called the Chimera. I think that the Chimera are really cool in this game. And I like the part early on in the game when you're playing as Nathan Hale and, you're basically playing as a military soldier, and you basically come across this room where you have to fight, aliens, but, like, this room in particular, and I also like the lore in this game. Basically, you learn that the Chimera, they basically will infect people, but they'll basically create this kind of like a machine, I guess you could say, but, like, they'll basically use this machine to capture people, infect them, and turn them into Chimera to fight against the human race, which I think is a rather interesting concept. Now, this game's not perfect. It does have some flaws, and again, this is not Insomniac's best game. I will say they have made better games since then, like, of course, the Spider-Man game from 2018 for the PS4, and, of course, the second game for PS5, but, in terms of flaws I have, and these are really minor, I do think that the graphics have not aged the best in this game. Now, granted, that's not necessarily the game's fault, because it did come out in 2006, but the graphics have not necessarily aged the best, and I guess another negative I do have is that, now, remember how I said the game holds up for the most part? Well, now, when it comes to the controls, I will say the controls, they do hold up well for the most part, but it is a little clunky in certain areas. Like, for example, if you use the look up button, it makes your character look down. So it does take a little time to get used to. And my other negative, only because I haven't played the sequels yet, is because the game ends on a cliffhanger. But other than those small little nitpicks, Resistance Fall of Man from 2006 is a fun first-person shooter game, and while it's not quite as good as, while Insomniac did not quite perfect themselves yet, like they did with the newer Spider-Man games, this is still a rather good game I would recommend. And the thing that sucks is that this game was taken off the PS5 store, so if you don't have a PS3, you can't really play it, which but yet for some reason, even though the first 2 games were taken off the PlayStation Store, the third Resistance game, Resistance 3, is available on the PS5 store. So I don't know why they took the first 2 off, but at the end of the day, this is a rather fun first-person shooter game, despite some minor flaws I have, and on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give Resistance Fall of Man an 8.5 out of 10. So yeah. Anyways, guys, that was my review to Resistance Fall of Man, and we will catch you guys later. Bye-bye now.